Yeah, that's a great question. Oh my gosh. Maybe someone from Stranger Things. It was just heartbreaking to see. I think Rich is such a lovable and funny character. The school was actually abandoned, so like on our lunch breaks or like in between takes, we would just run around and go into a bunch of different classrooms. And getting to film with the episode one kids was so much fun. They'll say stuff and like get really deep into it and have this whole plot figured out. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is insane. Fans' reactions was definitely a shock to me. I wasn't expecting all of this.
Hello everyone, my name is Chris and welcome to another episode of Once and Always a Fanboy. Our guest today has quickly become one of the most exciting young actors to watch. In It, Welcome to Derry, she brings so much heart, fear, courage, and emotion to her character that you'd think she'd been acting for decades. As someone who loves the It franchise, I've been really looking forward to having her on the show, and I cannot wait to hear her stories. Fangirls and Fanboys, Clara Stack. Welcome, Clara.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Yes, welcome to the show. Thanks for your time. You play fear really naturally in this show. Was there a type of fear that came easier to you at first and another kind that you felt like you grew into as filming went on? I mean, there are a lot of different kinds of fear in this show, like panic fear, frozen fear, and even team-based fear where you go through it together with your co-stars. Which kind did you feel comfortable with right away and which one took more time to learn?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think something that I felt kind of more comfortable with right away was kind of like that panic that you were talking about, because there's so many intense, horrific sequences throughout this show. And I think I kind of got used to that quickly is just, imagining there being like a crazy monster in front of me and having to react to that. But I think something that took a little more time was kind of specific to Lilly, just her grief. And I think the kind of guilt that she feels regarding losing her dad and Maddie going missing, kind of the fear of all of that being on her and being her fault. Um, but I think, working with our director Andy and our acting coach Ben, I think, and especially like as the series went on, I think I kind of grew into that and kind of learned more about Lily and how she copes with that guilt. And also kind of like she is a young girl in the 1960s and she does get, made fun of at school and she doesn't have the best relationship with her friend Marge. She was kind of choosing the popular girls over her in the beginning of the series. And so I think also kind of just the fear of being misunderstood. People call her crazy. So I think just that kind of fear of how others perceive her was also something that I had to work on.
When you get scared, when you act scared, your body still reacts, your muscles tense, your heart speeds up, even though you know you're acting. Did this show teach you anything about how fear works or change how you deal with fear in real life since your body still feels the same way?
That's a good question too. Yeah, I think on set, something that was really important to take into consideration and, research was how the body physically shows fear, so things like you mentioned, like your heart racing and your body tensing up. I think that was something that was really important to portray in the scene so that you could see it physically as well. And I think something that kind of motivated that was just the emotion that we were feeling, because when were feeling scared internally, I feel like that kind of showed physically. And yeah, in real life, I don't know how that translates. I think there were so many times in this show where I had to, jump or freeze or anything. So, sometimes friends or whoever will scare me in real life, and I kind of still have that, like, I kind of jump back to that, like, fear, like, jumping in shock, because I kind of got used to that on set. But yeah, honestly, I think just really channeling that fear in scenes was really important because obviously this is a really scary show. So.
Lily is facing some pretty intense stuff in Derry. If she could call a friend from another show or movie to help her in Derry, who would it be? Like a superhero, a detective, or from another franchise maybe?
Yeah, that's a great question. Oh my gosh. Maybe someone from Stranger Things because I've been seeing some people saying that the show has some similarities to it. I don't know, like maybe 11. I feel like she could be helpful with her powers in some way. She could maybe, defend the group and yeah, I think that'd be cool.
You think Eleven can find a way to finally defeat Pennywise?
Ooh, I don't know. I don't know if Pennywise can, ever be truly defeated. But yeah.
At least you'll have a bit of help.
Yeah, exactly.
So every week, fans are picking apart every frame of the show and making wild theories. Some super smart, some super funny. When you see those online, what's more fun for you? The ones that guess things right, or the ones that are totally wrong but really creative?
I've loved seeing fans' reactions to the show. I think we put so much like effort into it and time, and it's so amazing to see everybody reacting to it. And yeah, I love looking at theories. I think when people get it right, I'm like really shocked and I'm like, wow, like they're really smart. And then they'll say stuff and like get really deep into it and like have this whole plot figured out. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is insane. And then obviously, you see some funny ones and it's just like fun to laugh at them. And um yeah, but the ones that are right, a lot of people have shocked me. Like they've guessed stuff from the very beginning and I've been like, wow, like that takes some digging. Like that's insane.
Was there a moment when Pennywise looked more silly than scary to you on set? Or did Bill manage to keep the fear alive even off camera?
Ooh, I mean, I think Bill does such an incredible job of endowing Pennywise, and he gave us so much fear to feed off of, seeing him in costume and makeup, and he's so tall and he was looking down over us, like it was really scary, but there would also be times where he would just have like his face makeup on and his wig on, and then he'd just be in like sweatpants and he'd just be walking around set, going to Crafty. So that was really funny to see because in the scenes we were so scared of him, but then he would just be like walking around set and it was really cool to see. We'd be like, oh my gosh, there's Bill. Yeah, it was definitely funny.
What's a behind the scenes moment that would completely surprise like kids and adults who think making a horror show is scary all the time?
Ooh, okay. I think that, watching this show, a lot of people assume that it would be really scary behind the scenes as well. And there definitely were times where we were scared, but a lot of it was fun. And I honestly think just filming a show with castmates who are my age or close to my age, we all, just bonded and it was a lot of fun. One of my favorite memories from set was filming the school scenes in the school because the school was actually abandoned. So, like on our lunch breaks or like in between takes, we would just run around and go into a bunch of different classrooms and just like search around and dig around and see if we could find anything cool. And yeah, some of the rooms were actually filled with asbestos. So we had to be really careful where we were going. And yeah, some of the 80s would like chase us around and try to get us back on set. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. I have like so many vlogs on my phone of just like us exploring the school and yeah, it was really crazy, but a lot of fun.
That's so cool. So just to add to that, was the set more like two camps, the kids camp and the adults camp, or was everyone just constantly crossing over and hanging out?
I think kind of similar to how there are two kind of plots in the show, with the adults and then with the kids. That was definitely how it was sometimes on set, because we wouldn't always get the chance to film all together. But there were definitely times, where us kids would visit the adults and they were doing their scenes and they would do the same for us. And we all definitely like kind of grew as a family and we were all really close. And so, yeah, filming wise, it kind of was like separated, but, we all became super close and got to know each other and it was great.
So since my podcast is called Once and Always a Fanboy, I'm curious, what are you currently fangirling over at this moment? Like, are you binge watching anything? I mean, aside from your show, are you reading something? Do you have a favorite food? Do you collect something? Are you currently collecting anything?
Okay, I will say I was super excited to watch Stranger Things Volume 1 that just came out. Yeah, me and my friend watched that together. We like binged it. Yeah, I love that show. Been a fan for a really long time. So, and yeah, been waiting for so long for it to come out. So that's definitely something that I'm really excited for. I'm excited for Volume 2 to come out.
You have so many scenes with Madeleine Stowe as well, and the dynamic between you two is really powerful. Is there one scene with Madeleine that surprised you, like she delivered a line or a look in a way you didn't expect, and it changed how you reacted as Lilly? And was it a collaborative atmosphere with her?
Yeah, I love Madeline. I think it definitely was a collaborative atmosphere. Yeah, and I love filming with her, honestly. I think that the dynamic between Lilly and Ingrid obviously changes over time, but towards the beginning, it's really sweet and really heartwarming. So filming those kind of just like innocent, sweet scenes with her were really, really great to film. And one scene in specific that I remember was the scene in episode 6 where Lilly visits Ingrid's house and kind of figures out the whole truth about her and then, slices her with a dagger and runs out. That scene, it was kind of emotionally challenging for me because I had to get to a really, vulnerable place and kind of having this motherly figure turn into something that she's not and kind of just showing that. But Madeline was so helpful with that. And I think that she really gave me like a lot of emotion to feed off of so that I could really just like get into that scene. But yeah, I loved her as a scene partner so much.
Let's imagine Pennywise never came to Derry and Lily grew up as a normal kid. What kind of adult do you think she'd become? Would she stay in Derry, maybe doing a certain job, or would she move away and chase a completely different life?
Ooh, I don't know. Okay, I think if Pennywise was never in Derry, I think she'd still kind of carry like the same like core attributes that she has. I think she's really, caring, and I think she cares a lot about her friends, and she always tries to do the right thing. So I think that she definitely like still kind of carry out those characteristics. And I don't know. I think she might leave Derry, but I think definitely her paths would still cross with, all her friends like Marge and Ronnie and Rich and Will.
So, just like what I've said, you've had so many huge moments this season. From the theater massacre in episode 1, which just freaked me out, all the way to the sewer face off with Pennywise. Out of all your scenes, which one felt the easiest to get into and which one made you go, okay, this is going to be a challenge?
Ooh, that's a good question too. I don't know. I think the theater scene, it's obviously such a crazy scene, but I think that I was so excited for it. And I really love like action-packed sequences. And, getting to film with the episode 1 kids was so much fun that I definitely think it took some work to get into, but I had a lot of fun with it. And I was just honestly so excited to do everything, duck down under the seats and scream and get drenched in blood. So that wasn't necessarily easy, but it was really fun. So it kind of came easier to me, if that makes sense. And then a scene that was harder is probably the scene in episode 2 with the pickles because um that sequence is kind of more psychological, I think, than like horrific. I mean, obviously it's still like gross in its own way, but I think because it's based off of Lily's like grief and guilt that she has like regarding her dad, I think it definitely took more work to kind of get into that and like really show that. And obviously that scene has consequences of Lily going back to Juniper Hill. So I think kind of just her realization at the end of that scene that she is going to have to go back. And also that scene took a while to film. It took like maybe a week, and we did reshoots for it. So it was definitely a tiring scene at times, but I also had so much fun with it.
So, spoiler alert, Rich dies in episode 7, and the way he sacrifices himself to save Marge is so brave and heroic. It really hits hard. How did hearing about that scene affect you as a cast member? All of you guys. Like, how was that like on set? Were you there on set when you watched that scene?
Yeah, that scene is so sad, like genuinely. So I think just kind of reading that scene in the script, and then I was on set, watching on the monitor, seeing, when he's on top of the cooler. Um, it was just heartbreaking to see. I think Rich is such a lovable and funny character, and I think so many fans loved him, and so to see him just sacrifice for Marge, and he didn't even, die via Pennywise necessarily. He died sacrificing for Marge, which I think is kind of a big thing to think about. And I think it just shows, you know, his true character and who he is, and the fact that he was willing to sacrifice himself. And I think without Rich there, in the last episode actually, for you to see, I think the group dynamic definitely is changed without him. And I think it really does impact all the characters. And it definitely impacted all of us on set because we were all crying and it was so sad. Um, but yeah, I definitely think it's a sad scene, but I also think it's kind of heartwarming in a way because, he sacrificed himself for Marge, and I think that their dynamic is really sweet too.
A true knight,
Yeah,
as
for night.
they're calling him.
Yeah.
I just want to say, for someone your age, the emotional range you show on this series is really impressive. And people nickname you, a future Scream Queen. Did you expect horror to be a place where you'd shine? Or did you surprise yourself along the way?
It definitely surprised me a little bit. I mean, going into this project, I was so excited because kind of like I mentioned before, I love kind of like emotional, like action-packed things. And obviously this show has so many scenes where, I had to get to a really vulnerable place. And I mean, all the characters did. And I just really love doing more like emotional, deep work. So getting the opportunity to do that on this project was so much fun, and I had so much fun with it. But yeah, being called Scream Queen and, fans' reactions was definitely a shock to me. I wasn't expecting all of this. And it's really sweet to see everyone's reactions.
Have you screamed this much in a project before?
No, definitely not. This was definitely a first, but I had so much fun with it. It was definitely nerve-wracking at times because I would just have to, they would call action and I just have to scream and it would be silent. I was like, it was kind of scary to do. I was kind of like psyching myself out at times, but I just kind of, just let it come out.
And that's it. You've survived the once and always a fanboy descent into Derry. If you have any final words for your fans and fans of it, welcome to Derry. You can just speak straight to the camera.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for watching the show and for your support. It means so much. And I'm really glad that you all are enjoying it and, resonating with it in different ways. It's really, really sweet to see.
Very nice. So thank you for sharing your stories, and I can't wait to see more from you in your future projects. I love this franchise. I grew up watching the 90s It movie, and when they did the 2 movies with Bill a few years ago, I completely loved it. And when they announced the show, I just went crazy because every time there's new, content out there in this world, it just excites me as a fan. And getting to speak to you today, and seeing how great you guys are as a cast and you individually, it just really cements the fact that this show and this franchise is really doing so well. And I'm just happy. I'm just trying to contain, this level of nerdgasm. But yes, thank you so much. And I really appreciate what you do for the franchise. And yeah, congratulations again.
Of course, that means so much. Thank you so much for having me again.